They didn't warn you about this part. Nobody told you that the life you were building would one day feel like a costume you forgot you were wearing. Nobody prepared you for the moment you would sit in the middle of everything you once chased, the job, the people, the routine, and feel absolutely, profoundly nothing. You thought something was wrong with you. You were right, something is wrong, but not in the way you fear. What is wrong is that you have outgrown the container you were placed in, and a seed that has outgrown its pot does not thrive. It suffocates, it pushes against the walls. It stops growing not because it is broken, but because it was never meant to stay small. You are not broken, you are pressing against the walls, and the walls are about to give. 1. The silence that chose you. There is a specific kind of quiet that descends on a person before everything changes. It is not peaceful. It is not the quiet of a Sunday morning or a forest at dawn. It is heavier than that, more deliberate. It is the quiet of a held breath, the silence before a verdict is read, the eerie stillness that animals sense before a storm rewrites the landscape. You have been living inside that silence. You noticed it first in the small things. Conversations that used to fill you began to feel hollow, like eating food with no taste. People you once called close now feel like strangers performing familiarity. You smile at the right moments, you say the right words, but something behind your eyes has already left the room. You sit with your phone in your hand and feel nothing worth reaching for. You lie awake at 3 a.m. not with anxiety exactly, but with a strange electric awareness, as if something beneath your skin is listening for a signal that hasn't arrived yet. This is not depression. Depression is an absence of feeling. What you are experiencing is a surplus of something that has no name in ordinary language. It is the feeling of being too full for your current life, of carrying something enormous that the world around you cannot see and therefore cannot acknowledge. The isolation you feel is not rejection, it is selection. Not everyone gets pulled out of the noise. Most people are content to remain inside it, distracted, comfortable, safely numb. The noise selects them, and they accept the terms without reading them. But occasionally, the universe identifies a particular kind of person, someone who was built for something the current moment cannot contain, and it pulls them sideways, out of the current, into still water. Still water looks stagnant from the outside. From the inside, it is the only place where you can finally see your own reflection. You have been in still water for a while now. The question is not why. The question is, what do you do with what you can see? 2. What they took from you and why you needed to lose it. Let's talk about what was taken, not in soft terms, not wrapped in spiritual language that keeps you at a comfortable distance from the actual wound. Let's be precise, because the precision is where the power lives. Someone or several someones reached into the architecture of your life and removed something load-bearing, a relationship, a belief you had in yourself, a version of the future you had built in your mind so carefully you could walk through every room. They removed it, and you felt the structure shake, and you thought, this is the thing that destroys me. It did not destroy you, but here is the part that is harder to sit with. It was not supposed to. The things that were taken from you were not stolen. They were extracted, the way a surgeon extracts something that has wrapped itself around a vital organ and slowly, quietly been starving it of blood. The extraction is violent. The recovery is disorienting. You walk around for weeks not quite knowing what to do with the space where the thing used to be. But the organ breathes. The people who hurt you were not cosmically assigned to your suffering. They were simply people, flawed, unconscious, operating from their own unexamined wounds. But the effect of what they did served a purpose larger than their intention. They cracked open something that needed to be cracked open, not because pain is instructive in a clean, linear way, but because you specifically would not have moved otherwise. You were the kind of person who holds on, who honors commitments long past their expiration, who looks for the good until the evidence against it becomes impossible to ignore. This is not a weakness, it is a form of love, but it meant that only something sufficiently devastating was going to make you let go of what was keeping you small. So you let go, and now you are here in the still water, in the held breath, wondering what comes next.
What comes next is everything you have not yet allowed yourself to want. 3. The body knows before the mind does. Your body has been trying to tell you something, not in metaphors, not in spiritual frequencies or energy activations, in the plain, blunt language of physical sensation that your mind keeps overriding because you've been trained to push through, to perform functionality, to keep moving regardless of what the body is quietly screaming. The exhaustion that does not lift after sleep, the weight in your chest that arrives without a specific cause, the way your appetite disappears and reappears on its own schedule, indifferent to meal times or social conventions. The strange, vivid dreams that leave you more awake than sleep ever does. Your nervous system is in the middle of a renegotiation. For years, perhaps your entire life, your body has been operating on high alert, not dramatically, not in ways visible to others, but under the surface, calibrated to a constant low hum of threat, watching for the subtle shift in someone's tone that means disapproval is coming, scanning every room for the exit, measuring your words before you speak them to estimate the damage they might cause. This is what chronic stress looks like when it is normalized, when it has been present so long it registers as personality rather than symptom. Your body adapted to that environment brilliantly. It kept you safe. It made you perceptive, attuned, socially intelligent in ways that people who grew up in easier circumstances never had to develop. These are real gifts, built from real cost. But you are no longer in that environment. The threat that shaped you has passed, or changed, or revealed itself as survivable. And your nervous system does not know this yet. It is still running the old protocol on new terrain, burning energy to guard against dangers that are no longer present. The exhaustion is the cost of that mismatch. The rest you are craving is not laziness, it is recalibration. Your system needs to learn, slowly, through repeated evidence, that stillness is not dangerous, that silence is not the quiet before something bad happens, that you can stop scanning, stop performing, stop bracing. This is the work, not impressive work, not visible work, but it is the most important thing you will do this year. Let the body rest. Let it learn that rest is safe. Everything else you are waiting for can only be received by a system that is not in permanent defense mode.
4. The specific shape of your resistance. You have a particular way of sabotaging yourself, and it is sophisticated enough that you rarely catch it in the act. It does not look like self-destruction. It looks like responsibility. It looks like being realistic. It looks like not wanting to be the kind of person who gets ahead of themselves, who builds on hope before they have proof, who wants things too loudly. You have learned to want quietly, to keep your real desires in a separate room, behind a door you check occasionally but never walk through. Because wanting loudly, wanting fully, means the possibility of losing loudly, and that is a risk you learned early not to take. So you hedge. You pursue the version of what you want that is acceptable to want, the practical compromise, the thing that won't embarrass you if it falls apart. And then you wonder why, when you get it, it does not feel like enough. It does not feel like enough because it was not what you actually wanted. The fear is not failure. That is the cover story. The actual fear, if you sit with it long enough in the still water, is this. What if I go for the real thing fully, with everything I have, and it still doesn't work? What does that mean about me, about what I deserve, about whether the universe is the kind of place that has room for what I actually am? That fear is the door. Not the obstacle, the door. The thing you walk through, not around. And you walk through it not by eliminating the fear, but by becoming someone who acts in the presence of it, someone who wants loudly enough to risk losing loudly. That person is who you are becoming in the silence, in the still water, in the exhaustion that is not collapse, but conversion, one form of energy being transformed into another. 5. The architecture of what is coming. Here is what I will not do. I will not tell you that everything is going to work out exactly as you imagine it. The version of your future that you have constructed in your mind is built from your current imagination, and your current imagination is limited by your current experience. What is actually coming is likely stranger, more specific, and more suited to what you actually are than anything you have been able to picture. The wish that is forming is not the wish you think you are making. You think you are wishing for a particular outcome, a relationship, a career, a level of stability that would finally let you exhale. But underneath that wish is a deeper one, and it is the deeper one that is being answered. You are wishing to be known, to be in a life that fits the actual shape of you, not the shape you have been performing. To do work that requires your specific, strange, hard-won combination of sensitivities and strengths. To love and be loved in a way that does not require you to be smaller or simpler or easier than you are. That wish is structural. It cannot be granted in a single event. It requires a particular sequence of circumstances, people, and realizations to align. And that alignment takes time that cannot be rushed because each piece depends on the one before it. You are in the middle of that sequence. The isolation is not punishment. It is the load-bearing wall of what is being built. The quiet is the prerequisite. The exhaustion is the cost of the reconstruction. What is coming does not announce itself. It arrives through a specific conversation, a specific opportunity, a specific ordinary Tuesday that does not look extraordinary until later, when you look back and identify it as the moment the axis shifted. You will not miss it. You are being prepared to recognize it. How to move through the waiting. The hardest instruction anyone can receive is wait, but not passively. Active waiting, the kind where you are not pushing toward the outcome, but you are not collapsing into the gap either. You are doing the interior work that the exterior breakthrough requires. You are becoming, quietly and without applause, the person who is ready for what is coming. This is what that looks like in practice. You stop explaining yourself to people who are not equipped to understand. Not with contempt, with conservation. Your energy is finite, and it is needed elsewhere. The hours you spend defending your choices to people who have already decided what you are could be spent becoming who you know you are. You practice wanting without apology, not performance, not manifestation rituals or affirmations you do not believe, just sitting with what you actually want and letting yourself want it fully, without immediately cataloging all the reasons it might not happen. The wanting itself is information. It points towards something real. You pay attention to what gives you energy and what depletes it, and you begin, slowly, imperfectly, to orient your life toward the former. Not dramatically, not by burning everything down, but in small daily recalibrations that accumulate over months into a life that is actually yours. You become ruthlessly honest about what you have been tolerating, not to create drama, not to blow up your life, but because what you tolerate trains people in how to treat you, and you are about to meet people who will take their cues from how you carry yourself. And you rest, without guilt, without performing productivity so that the rest feels earned. You rest because a depleted person cannot receive what is coming, and what is coming requires every part of you to be present, awake, and unencumbered.
7. The moment before the moment. There is always a moment before the moment. Athletes talk about it. The instant before the race begins, where everything gets very slow and very clear. Artists talk about it. The second before the right word arrives, when the mind goes blank in exactly the right way. Survivors talk about it. The still point inside the chaos, where something inside them went calm and certain. You are in that moment right now. Not in a way you can feel yet, not with the clarity that comes with hindsight. But this silence you are living in,
This strange, heavy, electric quiet is the moment before the moment. It is the held breath before the plunge, the stillness before the signal fires. What happens after this is not a reward for suffering. You did not earn what is coming through the difficulty you have survived. The difficulty was not a test you had to pass. Life is not a meritocracy of pain. What is coming is simply the next thing. And the next thing for you, at this specific point in your life, is something you have been building toward without knowing it. Through every door you didn't walk through, every version of yourself you outgrew, everything that was taken, and every wound that became, slowly, a form of wisdom. You are not at the end of something. You are at the very beginning of what you are always going to be. The wish is coming, not because the universe owes you, not because you are cosmically special in ways that exempt you from the ordinary difficulty of being alive, but because you have not stopped, because somewhere inside the exhaustion and the silence and the long months of feeling like nothing is moving, you have kept choosing to stay honest, choosing to stay open, choosing against considerable evidence to believe that there is something worth arriving at. That choice is everything. Rest now, not because someone told you to, not as a spiritual protocol or an energetic procedure. Rest because you are a person and you are tired, and tired people need rest. And when you wake up, whether tomorrow or in 6 months, in a moment that will not announce itself as significant until it already is, you will be ready. You have been getting ready all along.